Well, hello there, sunflowers, and how are you guys today? Well, it is officially a week past the Super Bowl. How are you guys recuperating? Was you guys enjoying it? We've made some videos talking about the Super Bowl, even broke it down. However, that is not what I'm here to talk about. Exactly. I'm here to do a reading on Drake because on Valentine's Day, he released an album called Some Sexy Songs for You with an artist named Party Next Door. It was a pretty good chill album, honestly. Lady Crone and I both enjoyed it. Some One thing that me and Lady Crone picked up, well, what Lady Crone picked up was that one song, it was either CN Tower that gave her vibes of Life is Good with Drake and Future. However, the entire album was giving me, I like the duality of the two different artists. Like Drake had his one flow and his own beat, and then it was like when Party Next Door came in, he had his own flow and his own beat. So every album was like a 2-in-1. It literally was a collaborative album. Both of them put both of equal work into each song. It was just really good. Get Glorious. Glorious had an Ice Spice sample. Ooh, had an Ice Spice sample, or Ice Spice had given her voice for the track, because I did notice that Drake had like a kind of like an Ice Spice flow beat. And then Meet Your Padre, I enjoyed that because it was definitely a switch up of the song. Now we had some Latina. It was great. Drake was exploring, I guess, new creative music endeavors on this album and working with an artist such as Party Next Door. They both wanted I guess they both took the approach of having an experimental album, is the best way I can put it, in terms of sounds and how they collaborated together and the unique vibe that the album gave. However, one song in particular, though, that has me wondering is Give Me a Hug, because it talked about how he does not want to get married, but it also talked about, he literally said F a rap beat. Okay, so that was a somewhat diss to Kendrick Lamar, talking about the fact that even though we had this and that going on, forget this, I guess we're moving on from this now. So that leaves me to wonder, what is going on with Drake? That being said, how do you guys enjoy Drake's album, Some Sexy Songs for You? Yeah, I could see it. They were sexy songs. They had a nice mellow beat. It was like the essence of what I would think R&B would be. So I really enjoyed that. I was exposed to a new artist, Party Next Door. Now, I've heard of his name. I don't think I've ever really listened to him before, but just the fact that their two tones in rapping and style of rapping was different. Yeah, so let's just shuffle these cards. Okay, this one ring wants to just slip off my finger. So Drake, how you doing? With Kendrick Lamar, this rap beef, has it affected your career? Have you had some backlash? Were you able to? Is OVO doing good? What's up, Drake? What's going on? I even saw that you posted a picture of somebody's daughter wearing some OVO merch, and that apparently got some backlash. So, Drake, how's it going for you out here in these celebrity streets? Oh, okay, I like that. Four of Wands. Interesting. Let's see what's above his head. Go figure. The Ten of Swords. What's beneath him? Please let this be a good card. The Son of Wands. Okay, interesting. We have the Mother of Swords. Then for his future, we have the Four of Swords. There wasn't much movement there. He started off as a 4 and he ended off as a 4. And much like a 4 that does not look too happy either. So let's just continue on to see what his fears are. Oh, now that's not good. A 2 of Pentacles. Hopes. That's also not good. I clearly see why we do not see any movement forward. His hopes is scattered. But maybe it will be a change around. Friends, family, loved ones. The Four of Swords. Ay, ay, ay. Wait, that's the Four of Swords. Okay, that's the Six of Swords. My apologies, guys. That is the Six of Swords. Yet the Four of Swords just came out. I'm not. You could say it was eking its way out because that's how people see him as. And honestly, with this Six of Swords in the future, it doesn't look too bright either. And the ending card. Okay, the Father of Pentacles. Very interesting. A lot of... We have the Mother, Father, and Son. Interesting. That's almost the Holy Trinity. I see something turning around for him. It could be looking good. However, it's completely swords and it's completely fire. So the two things I can gain from that is there's definitely a whole lot of masculine energy and there's a whole lot of defensive energy or aggressive energy. Well, that's just all masculine energy. What is masculine energy? Aggressive, assertive, demanding your space and walking into the rooms and places that you own, that you're going to be recognized and you are going to be heard. And also it symbolizes a sense of ready to war, ready to attack, ready to defend without quite thinking clearly, not even feeling through the emotions. It's just all mental, you know, if it's that's how quick it is. There's no emotion to it. It's no feeling. It's just going with the flow, going with the frequency. If you blow me this way, I'm gonna blow back on you that way. It's that kind of tit for tat kind of thing going on with Drake currently, with all these swords and all these wands. So let's break it down and try to decipher all this fire and all this air, which together they are complementary because they're such strong forces, but also fire and air. Too much air can whip up fire, and too much fire can consume and make humid air, which is stifling and hard to breathe. So let's just think about how these two elements can work together and also work against each other as well at the same time. So if that, let's just see. So we could see a block or a clash between his creative endeavors, which will be his fire, and his mental and how he's thinking and maneuvering through the industry, and on social media, which is all about air and all about swords. So here Drake shows up as the Four of Wands. He is setting a foundation, a fiery foundation at that. One that he feels is stable for what he needs to be stable. Because I always talk about how 4 is truly not the most stablest element, not the element, but the most stablest number in foundation wise. I can't mention anything about the 3, so we're just gonna have to keep it on the 4s, and that he's trying to create his physical foundation, literally, because both the 4 of Swords and the 4 of Wands came out, and these are the two dominating elements in this reading. And for him to be the 4 of Wands, his foundation, he's trying to... What usually is the 4 of Wands? Oh, he's trying to move on and move past the situation. When he literally said F a rap beat, rap beef, he literally meant it. This Kendrick Lamar situation, even though he took some digs at some other rappers on his album. But I think really he took a bite from it, and he's trying to recover and restart his foundation, because mentally he is worn out. Mentally he has been whipped by this. Not saying that he lost or anything, but just the fact that the backlash or the heat that Kendrick brought was a little bit too hot, and that stifled and consumed Drake. Like I said, when you make air too hot, becomes humid, it becomes hard to breathe. Even though you're getting all that moisture, and that's moisture that you need, you're still getting suffocated in the sense. So I'm not sure what Kendrick calls his fans, but I'm just going to call them the dots. The dots are coming after Drake. He can't even have a good time in Canada. It's just a whole mess, and it's a whole mess that needs to be left in 2024, honestly. And the fact that he didn't even mention Kendrick or even mention his name or anything about how he felt about this, is just him talking about how this is a new leaf. It's 2025. He's ready to move forward and move past this. That was in the past. Now it's time for the future. It's time to move on from this. It's pack my bags. There's nothing really left here for me. Why am I sticking around, kind of thing. And so with that, with his creative talents and his creative juices, he's going to be going somewhere else and focus somewhere else and get back in his lane, basically. Because here, right underneath him, is the Son of Wands. And this is a charmer. He's getting back into who he is. That charmer Drake, the one that's that smooth talker. That one that is charismatic and that can captivate an audience. Maybe that old Drake, that flair, trying to capture an old essence, but an old essence that has been revamped, revitalized, repurposed. Because this is honestly a good question. I'm gonna have to come back on that. My question is, I want to know, did this beef cause Drake to reevaluate the way he maneuvers in the music industry? Because this snake charmer is here at the very bottom where the foundation is. And the snake charmer is like slithering up out of its, you think about like literally a snake being charmed out of a basket. This is so stereotypical, and it's coming out of something. It's emerging out of its shell. And snakes are all about transformation. He's ready to take a new leap, a new faith, a new creative endeavor. Just do anything to just move past 2024. And it's just people are trying to find things to, honestly, Drake just feels like he is in defense mode, like it's a fight or flight, because everyone has something to say. People mention about his exes being there, and that's just drudging up things from the past. Like, this is how deep this is going, and he just wants to move past this. And as the owl he is, the wise one that he chooses to represent himself as, he is taking the sword down. This sword could be a sword that is up and ready to attack, but instead it is face down, not even in a defensive position. So it's almost like a surrendering, like, okay, you got me, but let's take this to a, you might have tapped something on that frequency, might have tapped me on that mental. However, It's an owl that understands the game, understands their opponent, watches and studies and understands their opponent, and maybe can even predict their and maybe even guess their component. What the hell? And it and it's even like knowing your a defense team's next move. Like they say, never let them know your next move. Well, Drake as that owl that has people watching over, and he's able to study, and that's how basically Drake rose to the top, by being able to read the room, understand the frequency, and able to tap that beat, that frequency that drives the people. And he's getting back to those roots. He's getting ready to tap back into that old Drake and bring out that old source of Drake, bring out a revamped Drake, a more charming, a more witty, a more Mr. Wise Old Owl kind of tricks, where there's subliminal messages that you don't see that there's subliminal messages. However, it's still not looking good, though, because in the future we have the 6 of Wands, swords, and these swords are all laid down in the pile. That could symbolize surrendering to the situation, as in, like I said, putting the sword down, not going to fight. The 10 of Swords, feeling overwhelmed, and it's that point of, are we going to keep moving forward with this and push through this burden? Or are we going to just stop with this burden, know when to cut our losses, and move forward and hope for better days and a brighter future? And with all those swords surrounding him in his core foundation, Drake is going to rise up. Like when they say, when you're backed up against the corner and you're feeling pressed and you in that fight or flight defensive mode, your true self is going to come out. And the true charming Drake that he is going to come out. How is he going to come out, though? Is he going to come out transformed? That's as up to Drake as it's going to be, because this is in the fear position. And this could be fearing a transformation, or it could be fearing the inability to bring things back into balance, because this is the 2 of Pentacles, and it represents harmony, and it represents balance, and it represents things being equal-footed. And when things are almost like the Justice card, when things are brought into balance, things are working in unison, things are beautiful, things are harmonious, things go your way. It seems like he has a block with that, and that block seems to be within himself. It seems to be a physical block that he's having that is affecting him moving forward in his music career. And maybe it could have been the fact that he was getting tied up in all these rap beefs, and if he keeps himself in the news with having a fight with this person, having a problem with that person, it's going to keep Drake relevant. Well, it's time for a new playbook, because that's clearly not working for him, and it's actually stunting his career at this moment, because he barked up the right person's tree, apparently. And because of that, Drake is now hoping he can regather himself, regather the fire. This represents losing focus and losing sight of the project, and getting a little bit weary and have your energy all over the place. First you're doing that, then you're over there doing that, but then you go back and backpedal and do this. It's like all of that going on, and it's just like, wait, but you started this because you wanted something specifically. What about that? And then it's just like looking back like, well, what do you mean, what about that? I thought I already did that, thing of just kind of like an ADHD brain. Whew. And when it's like that, it's all jumbled up. And because of that, he needs to bring the energy back in together. He needs to get himself refocused. Remember the task at hand. Remember to not lose himself, no matter how many people are out there choosing to smear his name as he feels. But it's all how you choose to perceive the situation. Drake seems to see otherwise, apparently, but he's staying true to himself and true to his character, and is actually hoping that when he comes out of this and with this new album, that people are able to see a different side of him and see that he's a changed man, that he's not a sitting sheep waiting to be slaughtered. Can I say that? A sitting sheep, a sitting duckling, if we want to put it like that in those terms, where these four swords are hanging right over the sheep's head. However, which with this Father of Pentacles goes right in hand, we see that sheep right here, the center, where that third all-seeing eye is glowing. Drake has tapped into something. Drake is a part of something. Who knows? But Drake is a part of something that's going to is only going to allow this to go so far, because they apparently need Drake as a pawn for something. Need him as a pawn for something. And does that metaphorically symbolize that he's been disregarded as a pawn? I'm not quite sure. However, here at the very end for Drake, what we see for him and how he's dealing with this rap beef and his career, and if he's had some backlash, which he's definitely had, it's been turbulent for him. It doesn't look quite good. There's some hidden, like, Drake change, but we quite don't see it yet. And the question is, are we going to see it? Because there's so much distracting us and so much keeping us filled, and we're not really looking at Drake. So because of that, we're so focused about what's going on around Drake, that Drake is doing some magic, doing something, because that sitting sheep said, that all-seeing eye shining bright, the third senses, no, not the third, the sixth sense, that spiritual sense, that intuition side that just gets you through when you need it to get you through, and you just know that it's got you. And if you want to metaphorically look like a sitting sheep underneath these swords that you just don't happen to know is above you, that are aiming at you and directed towards you, but you are unfazed. Drake is unfazed by it, because he knows that whatever divine energy he believes in has got him, and whatever he has done or got himself tangled up into is not as bad as it looks, as this beef is making it out to be. So he's standing strong in that. And here we have the Father of Pentacles reigning at the very end, where Drake will basically reclaim his name, or reclaim his identity at least, or his reputation to a certain extent, because the Father of Pentacles, what more can I say? That is the Father of Earth, the physical reality. And as the Father who goes out there, defends, and if we're thinking about just what a masculine energy, like I said, this whole reading was oozing masculine energy. If you think about a male deer, it's all good until it's that time of the season, or it feels like it's in fight or flight response. It's not going to be a little doe deer head in the headlights. No, it's going to ram you if it needs to, like a bull with these antlers. These antlers are glowing with energy, with the rainbow, with lights, and metaphorically, of course, ram. But because this is the pentacles, but the antlers are representing spiritualness and the spirituality because it's the head. But furthermore, it is antlers extending out from the head. So it's even like antennas that can tap into certain frequencies. That is lit up and glowing, and going back to that sixth sense that going back to the sheep card that Drake is representing, and who Drake comes off and is appearing meek, defenseless, and pretty much out to be slain. But it's a completely different story from his perspective. I just want to pull one card, and I want to know, is Drake going to be is Drake really going to have a comeback from this beef? Like, is he going to really be able to restore his name, his reputation, and reconquer who Drake is? Well, this card says the cross card, which could represent a burden, or leaving it up to the divine to take in and have some type of control in letting the way it sways, like letting it all fall into place and all the way it goes. It's all divine timing. It's all perfectly timed. This was meant to happen. So let's pull out what these two cards could represent. Whew. Whew. Oh my, oh my. Yikes. Is Drake going to recover from this? He will, but it's gonna look dark first. It's gonna look dark first because we have the burden card, and then we have the scythe card, which usually symbolizes something great, because that's what usually represents cutting something off, cutting off this burden, right? He's going to cut off this burden and move forward. However, then we have the coffin card, which usually symbolizes endings, but that's a good thing. That's a great thing. Whatever burdening him, whatever is weighing heavy on him, he is letting those burdens be released off of him and just leaving it up to the universe to deal with it. He has completely detached from this situation and is ready to just move forward, leave that behind him, start a new chapter in his life, and really take 2025 and New Year's resolutions serious, in the fact that it's time to just leave that behind. So sometimes you just have to cut your losses in the careers, and just know that there are just some people you just cannot mess with, or but that's all a part about learning in the industry. But also at the same time, at the very end, which kind of goes along with the butterfly, we have the coffin, which symbolizes the ending of something, the ending of this beef. Drake put an end to it, because I'm pretty sure Kendrick Lamar is not going to say anything else unless Drake comes back. And if Drake doesn't come back, then there's no beef. So taking the higher road, or taking the higher step in this situation, is what Drake's approach is going to be. And then lastly, I wanted to know, could this have been a ritual for Drake? Could this have been some sort of ritual for Kendrick, Drake? Was this like humiliation? Did just Drake bring this onto himself? Just because, okay, we have the whip. It's definitely the latter. He brought this onto himself. However, the whip symbolizes, why I say he brought this on himself is because it was bittersweet. And it had to happen. We have the letter here. Maybe this was a contract. Maybe he agreed to this. Maybe this was something he signed on to the industry. Maybe this was time. Maybe they said, hey, when when you see these signs go against this person, who knows? But here we have Drake left in his thoughts to think about this letter, this contract, this negotiation, this deal, and how the outcome has led for him, how it hasn't been quite well for him. And this letter could have just simply been the fact that this literally was brought on by Drake, and it wasn't a sacrifice, wasn't no humiliation ritual or some other kind of ritual out there that Hollywood is doing these days that seemingly go right underneath our noses because they have to do something completely different than doing this and this now because it's too obvious. They have to do these rituals blatantly in our faces nowadays. And this very well much could have been one. Yet Drake could have really been brought this onto himself because he was the one that chose to write those lyrics, and he was the one that chose to go after Kendrick. It's not like anybody held him to a torch and flame and said, do this or else. So with that being said, maybe that could have been an exchange. If you don't want to get married and produce, well, he has produced a child. But if you don't want to get married and get committed to somebody in the industry, especially if you get up in these higher echelons, then you're going to need to have to go through some other form of we got you baited kind of energy. But hey, that's just baby Crone speculation. I just wanted to know that. With that being said, now I'm going to leave, and I hope you guys enjoyed this reading on Drake and how he seemingly is going to recuperate from this brutal battle with Kendrick Lamar. And like I said, with this sheep and that sitting duckling, and maybe is a pawn in a great industry. Who knows? I'm not saying, but just in case, maybe that is truly what it is, and everybody's looking at him as like as a lesson. Who knows? But I found that enjoyable. I hope you guys enjoyed this reading on Drake and got something about it. He's definitely is taking a new leaf. That's one thing I walk away with, is Drake is ready to start anew, move forward, and put this beef behind him. He's tired and worn out by it. So with that being said, I will see you guys in the next video. Please subscribe if you had not subscribed already. It would really mean a lot to the channel. And leave your comments down below. How do you feel about it? How do you feel about Drake? And are you still supporting Drake? Are you not rocking with Drake like that anymore? Let me know down below. And with that being said, please give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you sunflowers in the next one. Sunflowers!